Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to the webinar. This morning we're going to talk about why are we still lacking invoice automation and how to fix it. We're talking a lot like high level stuff, and then we have a lot of concrete examples and tips and tricks as well for you to share. Who are we hosting this webinar? Tommi, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, thank you, Tuomas. So my name is Tuomas Haapsaari and I'm the product manager for OpusCapita's invoice automation products and been in the business a bit about more than 20 years.
Thank you, Tommi. So you have a lot of experience regarding this topic. Thanks for hosting this webinar with us. My name is Tuomas Haapsaari, head of growth in Snowfox.AI. So basically I've been working with the invoice automation industry and artificial intelligence for like 3.5 years now, so a little less experience than Tommi has, but still some of it. Per, please.
Okay, Per Åberg. I'm heading the product at OpusCapita, and I've also been in the industry since mid-90s. So some people call me like automation evangelist, and I sort of see myself like an EDI dinosaur, more or less.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. So we have a lot of experience in this topic, and we are willing to share our tips and tricks with you. So hopefully we can be of your help this morning. So we have roughly 45 minutes. We're talking about 3 topics. First, why are we lacking invoice automation today? You all are here maybe because you are lacking invoice automation. You're willing to find ways to increase automation and get rid of manual work. And then number 2, what can be done to increase automation? And then we're going to talk about the role of AI as a part of invoice automation. So lots of topics, lots of stuff, lots of things on our table this morning. But please send us questions, send us comments, send us your opinions if you agree or disagree or anything. Let's talk. Let's do it together. So use the question tool or feature, this GoToWebinar panel that you can find, and send us comments and questions and everything. We will take it real time. So we are going to follow your questions and comments, and we're going to take them live here. But let's begin. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar. The first question: organizations are still lacking invoice automation, but why? Per?
Yeah, I think that's kind of natural to everyone that making changes, that is actually a big thing. So if you go back to this guy who said that if you always do what you always did, you will more or less get the same result, and that's just so true, I think. And it takes actually a lot of things to really change. So if you sort of flip to the next one slide. So if you sort of see yourself in this situation that everybody wants change, like you want to have improvements and da-da-das to your work life, to your private life, everything. But then when it comes to changing the behavior on a day-to-day business, that actually requires something else. So and if we look at this explicitly, what we're talking about, this invoice automation process, if we look why we lack change there, I think that if you look at I've listed like very traditional tasks on the accounts payable specialist. It's about reviewing invoices, it's trying to match them, ensuring the bills get paid, entering transactions, doing reconciliation, set up suppliers, annual statements, and then supporting the rest of the organization with various questions, high and low. But what's not explicitly written on this job description is that change the process. And I think that's where we go wrong, and that's why we don't see the needed change in the organization in order to get this super high automation, which we actually can get. So let's flip to the next one. So as we've seen it, at least there's 5 areas where you can create automation in this process. It's the quality of the purchase to pay process. I'll get back to that in a sec. And then it's the quality of the data. Then it's master data. Tommi and Tuomas will talk a bit later on the master data and matching capabilities and organization and drivers, and this whole AI, machine learning, etc. But if we stay with the quality of the purchase to pay, then I think we need to flip to the next one again. That's actually due to two things. First of all, it's the organization, because as you can see from any report, usually like there's only 50% of companies how they are organized so that the purchasing department and the invoice department or accounts payable departments actually work together with common KPIs. Otherwise, they're like two silos. And if we then look at, in order to be able to automate the accounts payable processes, then we need to have the correct data in, and that is actually then generated by the PO, for example. And if we look over Europe, now there's only like 6 to 7%, that's like very recent figures, that actually are able to match their POs against an invoice. So it's actually start with, if you don't have a really structured way to handle your purchases, that will actually have a negative impact further down the process. And if we go back again to the previous slide. Thank you. So I think that maybe Tuomas, from like you're like hands-on meeting the customers and looking what do you see are the sort of the blockers from like a hands-on day-to-day business that you see that the invoice process automations sort of suffers from not having the total control in the procurement. Do you have any concrete examples?
Yeah, thanks, Pat. And we're talking and asking this question, like all of our customers and many like companies we meet. Why? Because we always go through that. What is your current automation level today? And then we ask, okay, why don't you have better automation in place and so on? And I think the biggest reasons have been listed here, but I think the non-PO is one thing, that there are no POs in the invoices. That's for sure. You have already talked about. But then the non-POs, why aren't they automated and matched? And typically when we look at the non-PO invoices, there are lots of non-recurring invoices. So invoices are not recurring regularly all the time. Same purchases, same suppliers, same prices, same products, and so on. So they are not like that. If you have like one supplier, you are purchasing one product, so it's easy to automate. But there are exceptions and exceptions of exceptions and so on. So it's getting very complicated, and that leads to a lot of non-recurring invoices that automating with rules is actually really complicated. So that's one big thing we have found out. And another thing is there are companies who have lots of legal entities. So there might have some recurring invoices, for example, property management companies. So all the properties are legal entities. So they can have like 3,000 legal entities in their kind of company group. So they would need to build those rules for every single legal entity per entity. So it's a lot of work creating and then maintaining rules. So this kind of. What about you, Tommi?
Same kind of thoughts about the purchase to pay processes.
I think to echo what you said there, Tuomas, but also I think that coming back to this quality of the purchase to pay, it's everything from the purchasing strategy, because this wild spend, for example, that's an effect. So if you don't have really tight purchasing on frame agreements, for example, and you accept sort of a wild spend, then you will get a lot of non-recurring invoices. So I think it actually comes from a strategy, a buying strategy as well. And if you don't do that right, then we will suffer, later on in the process. Okay, thanks for really valid input. But if we then
we are coming back to your first kind of challenge, that everybody wants to change but do not want to change. So it's
Yeah.
I think it's a huge change management process or project
Yes.
to make the processes better. So
Yeah.
Good
Okay,
point.
so if next topic, okay, so we can then talk about sort of the quality. So then I don't know who of you, maybe all of you are aware of Hackett, but Hackett is a consultancy organization who helps companies to look at their process and make their process more sort of streamlined. And it's not only the accounts payable process, but the whole financial system. But if they look at what they have found, as Tuomas and Tommi have found as well, like from their point of view, is that what makes if you want to stand out, if you want to be a top performer, what does the top performers within this process, what they do, what do they use when it comes to sort of to technology? Yeah, they work with network portals, EDI, and as I said, like I've been maybe repeating the same message to the CFO since the mid 90s. I say that if you want higher quality, you want automation, who is working on that on a day-to-day business? Who is responsible to increase the number of e-invoices, for example? And very seldom I get a name. It's like, yeah, that we're working on it. Yeah, but we're not like there needs to be a name working on it. And the next thing is this advanced data capture. I think that we will actually touch that later on today as well, because one thing is like capturing the OCR. The next thing is actually to work with the historic data, which Tuomas will show us later. And then it's about the matching, and then it's about discrepancy management, and coding and adding missing information. We will also touch a lot about that later on. But those are the core things. If you want to be stand out, best in class, these are things that you really need to look into. So if we then look about the sort of the quality, and we look then one next slide. Sorry for forcing, but it's back again.
No, there was some handsome man in that slide, so I was just.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, thank you.
Give a little look.
Okay. Better on picture than live, maybe. So I think that what we at OpusCapita do, we try to not only focus on the invoice, we try to help companies in this entire pay, so purchase to pay flow, where we have services where we can actually help to improve also the purchase order handling, meaning that we can actually help customers to bridge this problem they have of lacking the data in order to match against. So, and I also think that now when there's focus on invoice today, but if you look at the company, like there's so much more if you tap into all those messages, the whole interaction with your suppliers, because then they don't get happy by sending an electronic invoice. You get happy by an electronic invoice, but they are happy with the electronic purchase orders, because they don't need to register that order like in a manual way on their side. So maybe having a bit more holistic view on how you collaborate with your suppliers will actually help to improve the whole end-to-end process. And as again, less than 10% are doing this electronic POs. And next, thank you. You were on the right move there, Tuomas. So another thing so try to have a holistic view on taking not only the invoice, but let's take the whole purchase to pay flow in consideration. Next thing, we're talking about e-invoicing. And e-invoicing, yeah, that's right. That's easy to say. It's harder to implement, because especially if you look, if you work in one country, you need to sort of apply to that specific country rules. But if you work in several Nordic countries, then you need to apply to all of those different. So in Denmark, they have one set of standard, is OU XML. They introduced that maybe 10, 15 years ago. They have super high, actually, penetration of e-invoicing. But then you need to make sure that you have someone who knows that format and actually knows how to implement it down to the format level, meaning what content data format will I then read into my AP process. And then if you click the next, then in Norway, there's a different format, of course. Why have one? So then it's this EHF. They are now leaning very much into Peppol, but still there's a specific format in Norway. And if you go to the next one, there you have Finland, who also was very, very early upon this e-invoicing. But looking at an e-invoice in Finland, this based upon the TEK, the Finvoice, has less data than a full-blown invoice in Peppol now, for example. So if you want to make even more automations, then you need to look into like an upgraded format, LS standard, which we now are doing with all of our customers. That's updating the old standard. And then, of course, lastly, Sweden. Of course, we need to have our own format, which is then defined by very much by Peppol. And then it's not only about the formats, it's about the sort of the operator networks, meaning the electronic addresses. So you need to tap into the yellow page, electronic yellow pages for all of those countries in order to maybe ensure that you get like a full e-invoicing working solution. And then what we see will come, or is actually already here, at all those Nordic countries looking into Peppol, which actually is more of a global standard. So I'm just looking so much forward when everybody will say that, okay, I will skip this local thing, I will actually go for Peppol. But that means until we are there, because then both the supplier and the customer needs to be on that same network system register. So there's a lot of things happening, and if you're not there yet, you need to look into this e-invoicing, because that will help so much into this automation. And if we then flip to the next one, but there's a shortcut. There's always a quick fix. Now, there's not always a quick fix, but there actually is a quick fix. And for the ones who have not heard about it, maybe you're familiar with this OCR when you extract the data from a paper or from an email, and then you on the opposite you have this full-blown e-invoice where you have all the data. There is a way in between, and then that's the structured PDF, because the PDF is actually both an image and data. So what we can do is that we can scrap the data from the PDF and create an e-invoice, meaning that we can actually, in a very simple way, we can create an e-invoicing out of an email, meaning that you can get all the content. Because buying OCR, why many companies, coming back to your comment there about the line level there, Tuomas, or you will come back to that later. If you want to have the line level and you have an OCR, traditional OCR process, it's very costly to extract the lines. But if you do it, if we scrap the data from the PDF, then you can actually have that line level mapping of data. So if you haven't looked into that, I see at least customers of ours who are, who need the line level data or who wants to make better automation in the AP process, they buy this kind of service. And it's the same price as for the e-invoicing, but you get the full benefit from that email flow. So I think that was more or less what I was about to say. And so if we can go to the next one. I just found this from an old other presentation and I added a slide. So about robots and AI, and I think it's here to stay. If you look in Sweden, it was this robots in the 70s. That was like on a doctor level, they were trying it out. 50 years later or 25 years later, it was like in production. And now this AI and this artificial intelligence is here to stay, but on as a sidekick to the accountants. So I think that with that said, Tommi, maybe you can just say some words about this third, about the master data, this improvement areas, and then take it from there.
Yeah, the master data, couple of examples. So what's about the master data? Why it should be in the good shape for automating the processes, and it's not only about automating the processes, but it's also about the approval limits, for example, or approval policies in a company. So you have to have the correct people, correct users there with the proper user roles and with the correct approval limits. That's one example. The other example about the master data is the supplier master data. So when we are getting the invoice in the solution, so then we attach or we recognize the correct supplier who is sending the invoice. So if the supplier master data is in bad shape, not having the VAT numbers or not having the supplier bank account numbers. So then the recognition of the supplier is not as good as it should be. So a couple of examples. Dimension dependencies. If you have the GL account this, then the default cost center will be this, or the default VAT code will be this. And it's quite often the master data itself, it's not, or it is maintained in the customer's end. So in the ERP, or in the accounts payable solution, or for example, granting the user roles can be done through the account, Active Directory. So that's about the master data. And then about the invoice automation. So what we can do in our OpusCapita solution, and if I'm now talking about the IPA, so I'm not meaning that we are in the brewery business, but it comes from the invoice process automation. And the traditional way of doing the automation is via rules. So based on the invoice data, you can automate different kind of things. Either you can copy the things from different fields to the postings, or then you can have the data as a conditions there in the rules. Then in IPA, we have three main categories for automating things. The first one is the invoice category, and it means that you can manipulate the data with the invoice category rules. You can set the labels for later, for some purpose in the later process. You can copy the fields from the wrong fields to the correct fields for automating, for example, the contract matching. Second category is the approval flow and posting category, and in there you can define the default reviewers or approvers or the approval group based on some conditions, or you can give the default values for the postings, or copy the values from the invoice. Then the last category is the invoice matching, and I will tell a bit more in the later slides. And then when we are executing the rules, by default we are executing the rules every time when we import the invoice in IPA. Then you have also the other ways of executing those rules, like mass actions, or you can schedule the execution of rules in the later phase in the process. For example, in that case, if you want to utilize some information in the posting, and that information, the cost center, for example, in the postings, which is setting the approvers on the invoice, it is not in the first place. It might be so that it is not in the first place, but it will be there in the later phase, and then we can set the correct users on the invoice. Then the next slide, please. And then the next way to automate is the contract matching. So it's kind of the master data also the contracts in IPA. How we are doing the matching in IPA? So the first thing is that we need to link the incoming invoice to the existing contract in solution, and that we are doing based on who is the payer company, who is the supplier, and what is the contract number on the invoice. Then the next thing there is that if we want to automate the setting the approval flow, we can set the approvers on the contract and reviewers on the contract, and those will be copied from the contract to the invoice when it is matched, when it is linked based on the information. We can copy also the default postings from the contract, and then the last thing is that when we are doing the exact matching against the contract, then we compare the invoice amount how often the supplier is sending the invoice with this contract number, and if those tolerances are met, then we can fully automate the whole process of the contract-based recurring invoices. Good. Then the next slide, please. And this is now example about the contract, how we have it in IPA. The left side we have the basic contract details. In the middle we have the approval or the invoicing limits tolerances there. Then we have the defined approval flow, and then in the bottom we have the postings. Just an example. Then the matching. So what we are meaning when we are talking about the matching. So it's not always matching against the purchase orders or goods receipts. It can be matching the invoice matching against any data, any existing data. Some customers are using the contract data or even contract line items as a matching data when they are doing the kind of the automatic checking of the incoming invoices. And how we can do the matching in a IPA product, so we have three options there. The first one is the header level matching. So based on the invoice header level information, like invoice net amount, we pick up all the open matching items having the same, for example, the same purchase order number. And then we compare the total sum of the open matching items net amounts against the invoice net amount. And if that is in the agreed tolerances, then we will match it automatically. And also for these kind of matching rules, we can also have the conditions there. So for example, we can do the header level matching for certain type of invoices, for example, for the digitized invoices, where we don't have the line items at all, or for certain suppliers only. And then the invoice line item level matching, we can do it with more accurate. So then we can define that what are the fields we are comparing against when we are getting the invoice in IPA. We can compare the, for example, the invoice total net amount against the purchase order total net amount, line total net amount. And then we can compare also, for example, article ID on the incoming invoice against the purchase order article ID. And if those are in the defined tolerances, then we can automate the matching. The both things that, yeah, please.
I have a question there. Because look at the rest of Europe, it was like roughly 6-7% who was matching against PO and then on matching on line level. Out of the IPA users, how many are using this matching against line level and only on header level?
Let's say that it depends quite a lot about the industry and then also the suppliers who are sending the invoices. Because if the suppliers are not able to send the e-invoices, then quite often the invoice data quality is not so good. So in those cases, we are not able to do, or anyone is not able to do the line item level matching. But if the suppliers are sending structured e-invoices, then our customers are doing also the line item level matching.
Okay. Thanks.
Good common question. And then the last thing here, if you go to the previous slide, so the last thing there is that if there's some extra cost on the invoices and you are not having those in the purchase orders, like you are having the freight cost there, and you don't know that what will be the freight cost. So you don't have to put or guess the freight cost on the purchase order, but you can define the own matching rule for the extra cost line items on the invoices. Here's one example. So if the line item is containing some of those words and it's less than 200 euros and max 5% of the invoice net total amount. So then you can match the extra cost line on the invoice. And then you can also define that what will be the default postings for this kind of lines. Good. And then let's jump to the next automation thing. What is this webinar also about? So artificial intelligence. So this is now the basic process how we can define the process in our IPA product. And the example here is that you have the certain states in your workflow. What needs to be done before the invoice will flow from the supplier from the left side to the right side? And then in this example, this is just one option to have the process there. So in this example, the pre-handling state, it has been defined so that invoice will not flow to the next state, to the review state, before the cost center, GL account, reviewer, and approver has been assigned to the invoice. Then it will flow to the next state. And if now the invoice is not automated fully based for these these four different dimensions there, then it will stuck in the pre-handling state. If it's automated based on the automation rules or there's a contract matching in place, then it can flow further in the process, even in the ready for ledger state. But if someone of these are missing, then we will send it to the Snowfox for predictions. And then Snowfox will predict the values, the missing values. It will not touch the existing values, which has been defined based on the rules, for example, or the contract matching. But it will populate the missing values. And also, for example, for the posting dimensions, it will give the prediction percentage, how well it has been predicted based on the prediction algorithm, the value. We can have the same data there.
Remember, that was one of Hackett's points, that in order to become world class, you need to have sort of a partner solution as Snowfox.
Yes. And then in the last phase here, Tuomas will explain it more detailed, but then the last thing here is the training data. So for training the prediction algorithm, they need the data that if there has been some changes, if the predicted cost center was not Tampere, it was Espoo, then it will next time it will have a better prediction there. And then next slide, this is the last slide from my part here. So this is now the example how it looks like in IPA. The predicted values here in the posting in the top of the slide. So now the predicted value has been 4,000 the ID equipments account, and then the probability percentage is given there in the brackets. And then same for the Tampere cost center. It can be also defined so that if the prediction percentage is let's say less than 60%, then the predicted value like GL account is not given at all, but you can see the predicted value in this account probability field with the percentage. So it will not put the value automatically there, but you can give a hint that it might be this account here. And then of course, all the actions done on the invoices, all the actions or changes will be tracked in the audit trail. So you can see also all the predictions from the invoice audit trail later. Good. Any something that I missed here?
No, I don't think so. I think we're eager to hear Tuomas. What about this whole the magic? Where does the magic happen?
Thanks, Matt, and thanks, Tommy. I think it was very well explained. And please, audience, send us comments or questions. Do you agree or disagree, or what are your experiences in these topics related to these topics? So let's do it together, please. Thanks, Tommy, and thanks, Per. Very well explained how invoice automation can be increased. And with the AI, I will talk a little bit on a higher level first, what AI kind of as a technology is and what is the logic of AI, and then a little bit about more specifically invoice automation AI. But maybe in the bigger picture, AI is more of kind of a missing piece in the invoice automation puzzle. As you heard from Tommy and Per, for example, OpusCapita has great features creating invoice automation within OpusCapita solutions. So you have really good capabilities in use that you can use. But then if there are some invoices that you have for some reason not been able to automate within OpusCapita solutions, then AI can help you increase automation. So basically the role of AI is more like secondary automation solution, only increasing automation from your current situation. But what is AI all about? First of all, AI is rather new solution in invoice automation industry, but it is already proven to be a very effective solution to automate repetitive manual tasks, such as invoice posting and routing for approval flow, what actually Tommy very well explained already. So when there is repetitive work, no matter what it is, AI is actually really good at doing it. When you think about, for example, you're browsing Netflix, so AI is actually suggesting you that this movie or series or something is something you might be interested in based on your previous behavior. So it's kind of understanding and creating this kind of suggestions very easily. What is the way of working or the logic with AI. So AI basically works the opposite way we are used to. Like Tommi actually went through, the kind of the traditional or the rule-based automation works in the way that we first create the rules. One rule at a time. We create the rules, and then we kind of create the process that obeys the rules. And for example, if you create a contract, then you talk to the supplier and tell them that please add this contract number to the invoice so that the rule works. And it works fine, no problem. With the AI, it actually works the opposite way. So that AI actually is fed with historic data first, not the rules, but the data first. For example, in invoice automation, AI will be fed with, for example, 6 months or 1 year of historic invoices and posting data and invoice workflow data, where actually AI kind of studies the historic data first and understands your previous behavior, how you have been posting invoices during the last year, for example. And based on your previous behavior, it kind of creates those rules automatically. That okay, from the last 6 or 12 months, you have been posting invoices like this. In the future, it's kind of just replicating your previous behavior. So AI is kind of revealing those rules from the data, creating those rules automatically based on your previous behavior. And one, I think, nice thing about the AI is also that it's not just building the rules, but it's actually adapting the rules to the changes automatically and improves all the time. Like Tommi said, there's this feedback loop. So it improves all the time. And what it means that it adapts to the changes automatically is that, for example, if you change your behavior in posting invoices, it will understand that, okay, the previous behavior was like this. Here they changed the behavior and started posting invoices to GL account A. And before they posted this kind of invoices to GL account B. So it will automatically adapt and understand, okay, then I will change also because of the behavior has changed. So no kind of changes in the rules need to be done manually, but AI understands because it's kind of part of the workflow and the invoice data flow. So it will get all the changes automatically. And everything AI does is based on data. So AI algorithms are using a huge amount of data to do its work. In invoice industry, again, it's using all the invoice data. Everything that there is in the invoice PDF data or e-invoices. For example, Snowfox.AI, we are reading also the invoice images. So we're getting all the data from there. And the more and the better there is data, the better the AI performance is, because it understands your previous behavior better and better, the more data it is that there is that AI can use to trade. So it's all about data. Everything is based on data with the AI. Couple of key points I listed. First of all, AI is a self-learning technology. No rules need to be created manually. It's actually because of that, it is trained with the huge amount of historic data and creates the rules automatically. So if you implement AI in use in invoice automation, it starts to perform at a very good level, even from the day one. So it is really quick and easy way to reach high level of invoice automation. Like starting from the day one, it will increase your automation up to 80% or something like that, depending on the data quality and so on. And then, as I already said, AI learns from the data continuously and automatically. It's really easy to maintain because of that. And AI is using all the data from the invoices for predictions. It's not just covering one field or reference number or something, but all the data. Same supplier is sending multiple invoices for you. Invoices might be exactly the same, but only, for example, the address is different. So it might understand that, okay, this one is going to Tampere cost center, this one is going to Espoo, because because of the address. So it's taking all those nuances into consideration also. So it's utilizing all the data. And that's why actually, because AI is learning fast, it's working well, it's very easy, maintain, to build, it's actually taking bigger and bigger role in the invoice automation industry all the time. And there are some AI solutions in the markets already now, but I just want to tell you that this is very basic, of course, for you. Not all AI solutions are the same. Not all the cars are the same, or the bicycles are the same. AI is a word that everybody is using right now, but be careful with the solutions so that you get some kind of a proof of concept before selecting the right one for you. And if somebody is offering you a real AI solution, it should be very easy to kind of give it a try before you making your purchase decision, so that you can really kind of get a control and understanding of the expectations that how well this AI solution would work in your case specifically. Not the other customers' experiences or results mean that your results would be the same, because every company has their own ways of handling purchase invoices, posting purchase invoices, and you have your own suppliers, and everything is unique. So give it a try before buying. Couple of Snowfox AI specific.
Can I just comment one thing there, Tuomas, because just from OpusCapita and Snowfox are two different companies, and we have also looked into this AI for many years. We tried to build it on our own. It's quite complex, as you say. It should be a simple solution, and we've looked into other partners as well. And what you can see is that anyone can sort of build a solution, but I think it's this time to get things up in production and have an AI solution built explicitly for this need. I think that you are very, as I say, far ahead in having a super simple standardized product which can just be taken into use like from day one, more or less. So it's very well.
Thanks, and that's reason why we kind of tell everyone to give it a try before making their purchase decision, because that tells the truth how well the solutions really work in reality. We can tell whatever we want, but the truth, the data, that is kind of the best proof.
Yep.
So a couple of Snowfox.AI related, as we went through, the main system is OpusCapita. Snowfox.AI is an add-on AI module that is easy to plug in, and it's increasing the invoice automation. But it's a plug-in add-on module. So not like just one more new system to implement, but it's really easy to connect add-on module. And OpusCapita is the main system. But together with us and OpusCapita, we can really help you achieve really, really high automation rate. What is Snowfox.AI capable of doing? As said before, we can help you post invoices and then route invoices for approval flow. And Snowfox.AI is only touching invoices that you are today handling manually, posting them manually, routing for approval flow manually. A new actually innovation from our side is spend-based carbon footprint accounting. We're using the same invoice data based on data, and with the AI and with some third-party databases, we are actually calculating real-time carbon footprint from your invoice data, which is actually really amazing today, because we all want to get lower our carbon footprint. We want to be manageable, so we can help you with that one also. And everything kind of, or in the core of Snowfox.AI is a real-time analytics tool. So you can monitor the AI performance real time. You can see it very visibly, very transparently, that how well AI is actually doing the postings, how well the AI is able to do the routing for invoices for reviewers and approvers, how it's improving, and so on. Everything you can monitor real time. And because I told you that we are an add-on solution to OpusCapita solution, so everything is based on value. So why would you take Snowfox into use? of course, you want to get rid of manual work. So that is our role, and we accept it. Our role and our goal is to increase your automation, and even our pricing model is according to that. So if we are able to increase your automation, then you pay us. If we don't, you don't pay. So it's really value-based, and it's of course always cheaper to pay us to do the work instead of people to the work, manual work. You are able to conduct a free capability test of our AI solution, so that we can really show you before making the purchase that how well would our AI perform with your invoice data, and what would be the price, the costs. And even our agreement model is so that you don't have to commit to long agreements. So it's really, really easy to it's easy to plug in, but it's easy to plug out, or how do you say, take it off. So you don't need to commit. If we provide more value than our costs, you're happy and we are happy. And I'm happy to say that no customer has resigned yet. And yeah, first one will come someday, but we have managed to provide more value than our costs are. This is very typical situation when we talk to new customers, is that they are very skeptical. And I know that you might be very skeptical that, yeah, we have been doing this for years and years and years, and now you come and tell us that AI can actually increase your automation and do the work very easily and very quickly and so on. But that's the way it is. Like Postnord, Christina Renko said that in the beginning, I was very skeptical if AI could really work and help us with our work in accounts payable. But a few months after the implementation, I learned that Snowfox.AI actually learns very quickly and works well. And AI really streamlines our work at the AP with the coding it outputs. So we are happy to prove. But as a conclusion, with the smart combination of rules and AI, you can get rid of most of the manual work. You need both. Absolutely. If you would like to know how well AI would increase your automation, we are happy to give you a free report regarding the AI performance with your data. All we need is your historic invoices, 3 months to 12 months of historic data, meaning historic invoices and related posting data. So how were these invoices posted? Which GL account, cost centers, VATs, blah, blah, all the dimensions you are using. No matter if you have 5 dimensions or 10 dimensions you are using. And then of course the workflow, who reviewed the invoice, who approved the invoice. You can get this data, if you are OpusCapita customer, you can get this data from OpusCapita, or if you're using another system, they can extract you the data we need. But we are not charging you anything. We just take the data and we train the AI models and give it a try. And then we give you a report that, okay, this well AI worked, and this is how much we can increase your automation from the day one. So we will provide you with the starting performance level and its costs also. How get started with OpusCapita invoice automation?
Yes, so if you are not yet our invoice automation customer, so please go to our website and see more information there, and you can also contact our sales directly. And like Tuomas said, that if you are now our existing IPA customer, so then you can go to our customer service portal and order the data through the change request. The cost will be around 590 euros or something like that at the moment. So that's how to proceed with OpusCapita.
Yes. It's very easy. Thank you so much. Hopefully we were able to provide you with some tips and tricks and examples, and hope you learned something new from AI also. Thank you from my side. Very happy that you joined the webinar.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And let's be in touch. If you have any questions, you can send us a message through LinkedIn or email or however you feel like, or just give us a call. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.